Hi everyone, for today we're going to be looking at two lost houses. In the same vein as my previous video about Flushcombe turrets, we're going to take a look at two houses that have contributed to the local area, and in one case whose name has been passed on and lives on in an actual suburb. In Australian history, the name William Lawson figures prominently. As an explorer, an early grazier and politician, his reputation is well known. What is less well known is his residence. In 1810, William Lawson was granted 500 acres on what was then known as Prospect Hill. 11 years later, he constructed a house on that property that became known as Veterans Hall. It acquired this name because William Lawson had a commission with the New South Wales Veterans Company. There aren't that many sources available for this house. There's a handful of black and white images, and this reconstruction is based on that. We do know that it was a single-story house, that it was in the Georgian style of architecture, and over time it was expanded. Some accounts say that it was rebuilt, but we just don't know. We do know that William Lawson did die in this residence in 1850. And as Prospect Hill was being converted into the Prospect Reservoir, a main infrastructure facility for storing water for the western half of Sydney, the house was initially used to house superintendents. However, in 1929, the house was demolished. But it wasn't entirely removed. The footings are still there. Unfortunately, you can't see them. They're blocked off. It's within the high security perimeter of the Prospect Reservoir. However, I have a link down below regarding the last archaeological report done, which has some information about what is visible and what's left. Basically, the footings of the house are still there. While Veterans Hall exists in memory and in footings, and while not publicly accessible, its base remains. The second property we're going to look at, sadly, is long gone, despite its fascinating architecture and history. The second property was owned by the third son of William Lawson, Nelson Lawson, and he built a house also in Prospect Hill called Greystanes. Two words. Grey for the basalt rocks that were in the area, and stains being the Scottish word for rocks. Naturally, this area would eventually become a quarry and would also lead to the loss of this house. Greystanes was a much larger, grander property, and again, we only have a handful of photos showing some of the rounded frontage and a very basic illustration showing the outline of the house, upon which this digital illustration is based on. So unfortunately it's not as detailed as I wish it could be, but at least it gives some semblance to the grandeur of this place. Grand Greystanes house almost made it into the modern era. Its property was used for soldiers during the Second World War, and unfortunately by 1946 it was in just such a bad condition that the house itself was demolished. Although the stone and iron fence work of the property still exists. The land on which Greystanes, the house would eventually be also gone as that property became used for a quarry. The quarry now no longer exists, and a housing suburb and a whole little community exists within that area. So unfortunately we have no physical remnants of the house. What we do have are these photos, and we have the enduring name of the suburb Greystanes. Through time, the two words, Greystanes, became one. And to this day, Greystanes as a suburb is exactly that, those two words combined in one. A suburb that came about thanks to a grand house that was built by the son of William Lawson.